Welcome to Talent Freaks with Andy Coon. I'm Andy, a filmmaker and photographer based in the Bay Area of California. This podcast delves into the journeys of creative individuals who inspire curiosity and impact through their work. In this episode, we're revisiting a thought-provoking conversation from 2012 with filmmaker and activist Nick Gaglia. Known for his powerful films Over the GW and Aaron Bacon, Nick has been a vocal advocate against abuse in the troubled teen industry. His storytelling is deeply personal, driven by his own experiences and aims to raise awareness about institutional maltreatment. During our conversation, Nick shares insights into his creative process, the impact of his work, and the challenges of being an independent filmmaker tackling such heavy subjects. We also discuss his then upcoming film, Altered States of Plane, a sci-fi thriller shot across 4 countries. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and rate Talent Freaks on your favorite podcast platform. It helps others discover these inspiring stories, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. So let's head back to 2012 with the younger version of me, introducing you to Nick Gaglia. After honing his skills with several short films, Nick Gaglia directed his first feature, Over the GW, based on a true story of an abusive cult-like drug rehabilitation center. GW premiered at the 2007 Slamdance Film Festival, where it was the first under-the-radar narrative feature in the festival's 13-year history to get a distribution deal after its first screening. Over the GW went on to win critical praise through its nationwide, limited theatrical run. Over the GW was also cited in a 2008 congressional hearing on child abuse and deceptive marketing by residential programs for teens, where it was hailed an incredible story. In 2009, Gaglia released the narrative film Aaron Bacon, inspired by the book Help at Any Cost. This film is based on a true story of precocious 16-year-old boy who dies as a result of abuse, including malpractice and starvation in a tough-love wilderness drug treatment facility. Aaron Bacon made its world premiere at the 2009 Shanghai International Film Festival. In addition to film endeavors, Gaglia's activism work includes lecturing on the topic of treatment abuse of adolescents at various conventions, universities, and venues, including Capitol Hill and NYU. In 2012, Gaglia received a humanitarian award from the Survivors of Institutional Abuse organization for the work he has done raising awareness through film. Also in 2012, Gaglia's latest feature film, which was shot in 4 countries including France, Italy, Switzerland, and the US, the sci-fi tinge thriller Altered States of Plane, is being unveiled to the world, starting in Brazil, with other countries to follow. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a great conversation with Nick. Enjoy this one, and let me introduce you to Nick Gaglia. So where did you grow up? Obviously, your first feature film was Over the GW.
Yeah.
And so explain where you grew up and how you became a filmmaker.
Yeah, I grew up in the Bronx, and I've been passionate about film ever since I was little. You know, I used to go around with my dad and make silly little short films, and since then, I've lived all over New York. I've lived in Manhattan. I have a place in Queens. I've lived in Westchester. You name it. And how did I become a filmmaker? I don't know. I was in that drug rehab when I was a teenager, which is what Over the GW was about. It was an abusive place. I was in there for 2.5 years, and ages 14 to 17. And by the time I was 17, I devised a way to escape. I said, enough is enough. I need to get out of here. And when I was in the facility, it very much acted like a cult. It was a cult. They tried to control, or they did control, everything we did, from using the bathroom to what we were able to read, which was nothing. We weren't even allowed to read the back of a cereal box. When we went to the bathroom, we had to ask permission to do what we had to do in the bathroom. And when it came time to wipe, how many squares we could use, it was just awful. We didn't have I didn't have any privacy for 2.5 years,
My
and
God.
so that
Keep going. I'm sorry. It just blows me away because I remember watching. That's like one of the last movies I've seen. I mean, the last 5 years that I could vividly remember, like scenes, and just it haunts me. And I was never in that environment.
yeah, thank you. And the stuff I just mentioned was actually the some of the easier stuff
Yeah.
that we experienced when we were in there. Believe it or not, you know, there was a girl. I mean, there were a lot of people, but I mean, there was one girl in particular that sticks out in my mind who was she was raped by staff members when she was in there, and she had no one to turn to. And when she finally did get out and speak out about it, they all called her a liar. It was just disgusting. Anyway, when I was in the place, I I realized and I knew that nobody on the outside world knew what was going on to us in there. You know, our parents put us in this place, but they weren't like, let's put our kids in this program for them to get abused. They thought we were getting help. And, you know, I knew when I got out, first of all, when I was in there, I'm like, you know, this would make a pretty good movie.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then, but when I got out, I felt like I had a responsibility to raise awareness around this subject because, like I said, when I was in there, I knew nobody in the outside world knew what was going on. But now I found myself on the outside, and I knew, and I know. So I felt I had a responsibility to speak out about it. And you know, the way you know, what I do and the way I communicate is through film. And I mean, the other thing they told me that I could never. I could never be a filmmaker. They wanted me to dedicate my life to the program. They said filmmaking was a druggy industry, and if I was to pursue my passions, then they said it wasn't really my passion. You know, they're trying to control us.
Yeah.
But you know, if I were to pursue, you know, that profession, then I would go back to using drugs and dying. And you know, now I've been doing it. You know, I don't even know how long, and you know, I've been sober for a long time, and you know, it's all hogwash.
Is it? I mean, I am. It's so weird. You know, watching and understand that movie, the drug rehab and the abuse that you went through, and the thing that's so weird to me is like you are sober now, and you know, and you are successful, and part of that is because of that. I'm not by no stretch of imagination am I saying they did a good thing for you. But part of your success and actually dealing with all this was how, you know, you made this film about it. And it's in a twisted way. It's almost like I'm not saying it worked because you're bringing a lot of awareness to this cause. And I've seen a lot of the websites that you've been featured on with people that have been abused in these kind of rehab centers. I don't even know what the fuck I'm trying to say, but it's do you hear some people saying like, well, it worked. Why are you complaining about it? I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
Right. Yeah. The interesting thing, the place I was in specifically, Kids of North Jersey, and the Kids chain. I don't think there's, you know, there may be literally be just one person in the world out there that would actually say that that place was helpful. I think it's near 99.999 near unanimous in terms of kids that place was harmful. However, there are other programs that operate similar to the experience I went through, where you know, people have varying degrees of success. Some people had awful experience. My follow-up film to Over the GW is a good example.
Yeah.
I did a film called Aaron Bacon, which was based on a book called Help at Any Cost by Maya Salovitz on the tough love, the teen help industry. And Aaron's was one of the stories in there, and it was a true story about how his parents put him in a wilderness program The place I was in was indoors 24 hours a day, and his was outdoors 24 hours. They were in the Utah desert, and when his parents put him in, they thought it was going to be, hiking by day, campfire, kumbaya at night. But what happened was they were starving and abusing the kids in the same fashion. And what happened, where I was in my place for 2.5 years, and I survived, after 30 days, Aaron was abused so hard that he died. And if you saw a Polaroid of what he looked like at the end of that 30 days, and there's one that exists I could show you, and what happened was that the staff members were mocking him because he lost so much weight. And if you see this picture, he looks worse to the worse Auschwitz.
Oh, jeez.
How can a kid who goes in, who is skinny as it is, 125, and then in 30 days winds up down at 90 pounds and is saying, I need to see a doctor, and then how could you look him in the face and say, you're faking, you're not really sick, you don't need to see a doctor, and on top of that, you're starving him. And the kid died.
I saw that today. I saw it, and I'm really grateful that you put both of your films on Vimeo. As a filmmaker, I know that's a means of income that you're putting your films out there, and people aren't paying for it. But I know a lot of your stuff is about awareness, so it's about getting that message across. I watched it today at work, and man, that was a hard watch, but it was so well done. And I hats off to you and your crew and the actors too, because I recognize a few from over the GW.
Yeah, it was interesting. I definitely, because the topic was similar.
Yeah.
But I didn't want it to be an over the GW all over again. So for me, it needed to make sense. My thing was indoors. This was outdoors. The conceit behind GW is that we really wanted to, in terms of the way we shot it, we wanted it to look and feel as real as possible, like a documentary. So because it was important, because and then when the movie came out, and I knew this was going to happen, no one's ever heard of these types of places, so I really needed to sell it that this isn't just a film, this is something real. Whereas Aaron Bacon, aesthetically, what made sense to me was it seemed like this awful thing that was happening against this beautiful backdrop. So that defined our whole execution. And there's some actors that I really loved working with from GW that I wanted to collaborate with once again, but I wanted to make sure that that they weren't in just the same roles.
Right.
So that kind of informed casting as well. And the thing about Vimeo, you're absolutely right. There are plenty of things that we all do and can do for money. I made those films for people to see, to raise awareness. It's not about putting an extra dollar in my pocket. That's why they're there on Vimeo. And please, anyone, feel free to check it out.
Yeah, that's something that I really share. Like I really believe in and share with you. One of my first films that I did, it was a documentary about Greensboro, North Carolina. That's where I went to school. It was about the 1979 Greensboro massacre, and where 5 people were shot in broad daylight by the Ku Klux Klan. And I did it. I was young. I was angry because I came with this Jersey attitude, and I was just like, South, racism, Klan, And there was a lot of anger involved, and it's a very deep, deep story. But I'm proud of what I did. But when I first started shooting, it was all kind of started off as a student, and I didn't know how to compose a shot. I used shotgun this one. Another time I had to use an onboard mic. I didn't have lighting person. Just anything that could go wrong did. But the story was there, and I kind of finished it up when I started becoming more professional. And it's about an hour 15 and won a few awards. Never really got into distribution because it was poorly shot here and there in little pieces. But I put it up on Vimeo, and I was just like, this is an important story that needs to get out there. And recently, I worked on a 34 or 35 episode web series about a friend of ours who, I say friend of ours, like my production partner, Blake Fawcett. We created a web series about a friend who had ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. and we documented from his diagnosis to his passing, and so
Wow.
we have that out there for everyone to see, and the awareness that got is absolutely stunning, and it's not a series about watching someone die, and that's like the you see this community come around, like all his friends from college came and they started learning how to take care of him, and it was beautiful how they formed this group and really took care of him. They did fundraisers, everything you can imagine. So it's something that I'm super proud of, and I'm glad that we were able to do that for him. It sucks that you have to watch someone go through that, but at the same time, there are so many people that are going through that daily, and the kind of response that we got back is very positive, and people really appreciate that, and that's exactly why we do what we do. And when I see your stuff, I saw those websites that people were pouring their heart out to you because they had that experience and no one knew what it was like, and you were that voice to them. How does that feel to you that those other people that suffered the same way you did now actually have something that can say, this is exactly what happened? Now people can see it and understand what they went through.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations on your series. I'd love to check it out. It sounds very powerful.
Thank you. And just a little bragging. Just a little brag. We won a Webby Award for Best Documentary Web Series, and we won a Vimeo Award for Best Web Series this past year.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
It was fantastic. It was a great experience.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, your question about people reaching out after they've seen it and saying they finally, going into it, that was like the biggest thing for me that I wanted to achieve. I was hoping that other people who went through the experience that I went through will be able to take these films over the W and Aaron Bacon and be able to show their loved ones and have them understand maybe just a little bit more of what they went through, and maybe it would give them some validation as well. I mean, I could sit here and I could talk for 10 hours about the experience, and you would just begin to understand the tip of the iceberg. But when you put something in a visual medium like a film, and you could sit down for an hour and a half or whatever, and watch the story and the images before your eyes, the medium is just so powerful. You really are able to understand stuff in a different way that otherwise it would just be almost impossible to communicate. The other thing that I'm very inspired by is the fact that I feel like these films gave people inspiration to share their own stories. I've come across a bunch of people who, maybe not in a film, but in terms of, writing a book, or, just some sort of, just some sort of catharsis on what they went through. Whether those books or those writings or whatever they did actually make it out into the public isn't the point.
Right.
It's the fact that they're able to finally sit down and face this thing that they've maybe not understood or just been hiding or running from for many years. And so when those people come to me and say, hey, I did this, that, even though I kind of did something to give to them, actually what they've done and the response I've received is actually a greater gift to me than it could ever possibly be to them, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. Now, obviously, I didn't have the same kind of perspective when I was a kid. I didn't do drugs until I went to college, but but it was recreational. It wasn't like I did hardcore stuff. But anyway, the thing is that really stuck with me, and I don't know if it was where I grew up, Jersey kid or whatever, but when I watched that, like I could see myself just like so angry. Like, I don't know how you lasted. I mean, 2.5 years, it's ridiculous. Like, I see it and I'm like, I could not last 30 days. But I understand when you're in an environment like that, you have to adapt for survival.
Yeah, to be honest with you, when I reflect back on it now, which isn't too often, it's almost like a distant memory. Like, did I actually even go through it? But
Uh,
it was 2.5 years of my life.
yeah.
So, um, but yeah, I guess it is one of those situations where when you're in it, you just I just think us as humans, we're way stronger than we realize, and if we're forced into a scenario, um, we really rise to the occasion. We have to.
Now, some
Um, Another point I just want to make real
sure.
quick. I actually I didn't get sober through the program, through that rehab. So when I got out, I did the AA thing for about a year, and then I fell off the bandwagon for a little bit, and then I eventually got sober the right way. But what they were telling me about how I should be getting sober actually confused me even more, because they were saying that the only way I can be sober is if I'm here in the program. And if I don't, I will die. I need to do everything they tell me to do. And if I don't do it, then, I'm going to be 6 feet under. But what I learned, and what I had to learn, is that, you know, I need to ask myself, who am I? What are my passions? What are my inspirations? And, really, really look into myself. What are the things what is this void I'm trying to fill with the drugs and whatnot? Uh, so, uh, So the last time, and it was film. I said, hey, what I really want to do with my life, even though it doesn't make sense in this program, because I was still brainwashed when I got out for a while, is I want to make movies, and from then on, everything just started clicking.
So how long was it after the fact you got out of there until you came up with the script? I mean, were you writing about it, or was it in your mind when you were in the facility?
There were When I was in the facility, I was literally sitting there and like, that would be a good scene. That would be a good scene.
Hmm.
Obviously, I couldn't write anything down, but yes, I did technically start writing in my head when I was in the place. But when I got out, when I actually started putting stuff on paper, um, was definitely a bunch of years later. I don't remember how old exactly. Maybe 3, 4 years after.
Another, I mean, I still am amazed this was your first film. Because the actors that you got for this were just absolutely amazing. Like, how did, as a director, and especially going through that program, being in it, uh, when you're directing it, how did that affect you? Like, did some scenes when they played out, how did you react to that?
Yeah, it was interesting. Well, first, like I said earlier, the thing that made this make sense for me, which defined this, was reality. I needed to communicate to my audience that this was a real thing, so that that this being my first major film or project I was doing, I really said we need the performances and everything else, but the performances need to not look like performances. They need to look and feel like real people going through something real, because people need to understand that this is a real thing. Um, and so that pretty much informed my direction for all the performances. And then when we were actually shooting, I um, you know I'm so passionate about film that just being on set and doing what I'm doing, it made it 10 times more exciting
Oh,
than
good.
me getting depressed that I'm seeing what I went through happen right before my very eyes. So it was actually quite fun. It was quite fulfilling. But after that, after the movie was done and watching the thing, there have been times where I just can't watch it because it's just too those images is just too much.
God, I mean, that headmaster or whatever he was just so intense, and your lead actor was fantastic in it. I mean, what did you where did you find him, first of all?
Yeah, I met him. I was working when I was developing the screenplay. I was working at the gym as a personal trainer, and he was a personal trainer there too. And he was an actor. This was in New York City, and I was working on my first feature, and um, we became buddies. And I knew from the get go that he was a great actor, and but I envisioned him for one of the other roles, and what because the role that was based on my story was meant for a 14-year-old. He was a bit older, so. But then I eventually realized that what I need more than anything is an actor who could bring the emotion and the intensity to the role, who we could see go through what I went through, as opposed to just having the right look. I knew he was perfect, so I rewrote the role for him and made the character a bit older. And in terms of the what you call the headmaster, Dr. Hiller, I was speaking to the lead actor, and I was asking him if he had any suggestions, and he knew a guy who he said he used to be great friends with, and they had a falling out, but he's a great actor. And I thought, he's like, do you want to meet him? I could get in touch with him. It'll be a little awkward because I haven't spoke to him in a while. And then I thought, this would be perfect. If they haven't talked for a while, then there's going to be some tension between the two. And if we're able to, to exploit that on camera, then that would be perfect.
Oh, you're a good director. And I mean, everything about that first film just really resonated with me, especially the music. I think and you had really good audio too. There weren't, I didn't dissect it. I watched it and I was thoroughly, entertained and enthralled, and just really was a part of that film. So I didn't really go, oh no, there's a continuity problem. I don't do that anyway, unless it's really bad.
Right.
But everything just seemed to come together so well. Like the edits, the music was great, the sound was good. It described how the music. I think music is very important, especially when it's an emotional, film like yours was. Just explain how you came up with that music.
Yeah, we on a whim we submitted to the Slamdance Film Festival. We sent them in a rough cut. We weren't done editing. We hadn't done any. When you're not done editing, obviously you haven't done any color correction or sound. All that, or music. And we find out that off of that rough that we got accepted, and they let us know end of November, beginning of December, and the festival is in January. So we're like, fuck, we need to finish the film now. So, and one of the things, a major component in doing a film is the music. Yeah. Unless it's a Panic in Needle Park where there is no music, but but this movie, the music was intended. So we actually we just started reaching out to a bunch of composers. So it was really done in somewhat of a haphazard manner. We're like, crap, we need to find someone. And we actually, in that brief time, we went through 3 or 4 people, and no one was connecting. And it wasn't a thing where we just wanted to throw anyone into it.
Right.
We wanted the right stuff, even though we were limited on time. And then probably about the 4th or 5th guy we came in contact with, he was, it's something just clicked. He came over, he watched the film, he brought his guitar over. And then we sat in the room in the back, and we're like, and I've never collaborated in this way. And he just started playing stuff. You go, it's like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And then there's a line in the movie. Tom Hanks is a druggie, I think is the line. And so he was just messing around, and he was like, Tom Hanks is a druggie, but the thing he was playing under that. I was like, wait, go back. What were you playing under that goof track you just did? And then he started playing. I'm like, wait, that's perfect. And then that kind of then we found our first motif, and we kept on building from there. So it was really it was quite an extraordinary situation. So and then we recorded a lot of stuff, and then after the festival, we did more, but we did as much as we could.
And Slamdance was really, that was your break, because as I did some research, that was the first time that they showed a narrative in 13 years?
No, they have a narrative competition every year.
Okay.
The thing that was special that year, which the Slamdance guys were telling me, or one guy specifically, was that like our film came out of nowhere. It was an under the radar film, and he said it was the first time he's ever seen. And at that point, the festival was running for 13 years. That after our first screening, we got approached for theatrical distribution.
Wow.
And he said, in all our history, he's never seen that happen before. So, which was to us, it was like, wow. We were all, we were all new to the festival. We did this film. It was a whirlwind from the point we got in. We weren't expecting it. I forgot I even submitted to the thing. I didn't submit to any other festivals. It was one of these, Chris Nolan, who did the Dark Knight trilogy and Inception. His first film, Following. Did you see Following?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Great film. I love the film. Anyway, he submitted that. It was this little film he did on 16 millimeter for $5,000, and he submitted one year to Slamdance, got rejected. Submitted, all right, this isn't like Sundance or this or that. If we don't get in this year, we'll just submit again next year.
Right.
So I sent the thing in because I knew about Slamdance and I always liked the festival. And then from there, it was like, oh boy, we got in. All right, let's finish the.
Some of the, because I can't remember the whole thing. Like I remember all the visuals and the punishment and like the in and outs of over the GW, but whatever happened to all the people that were like the doctors and the staff? What happened to them?
In real life or in the film?
No, in real life.
In real life, scary, disgusting stuff. The guy who ran Kids of North Jersey, his name was Miller Newton, and so all these kids programs got shut down. He moved down to Florida, changed his name, got ordained as a priest, changed his name to Father King, and has now started a new religious cult down there in Florida, and that's what he's doing now. He's been sued, a zillion times over, or which goes to the insurance. That he has never really been affected, and he's never been reprimanded either. And he continues to do his same stuff under the guise of religion now. So that's what he's up to. In terms of the individual, like I said, there's maybe one person who believes in these programs, mm-hmm. and I think there's one person, and they followed him down there. But I mean, everyone out, the thousands and thousands and thousands of kids are, just trying to cope in their own way.
What about like even the brainwashed kids that were there that were looking over you? Did you talk to any of them afterwards? Like, how have they coped with it after being, that place? Did it get shut down?
Yeah, it got shut down. And when it got shut down, it went underground.
Right.
So they're running in people's living rooms.
I remember that in the film. That was crazy.
Yeah. What's interesting is I didn't really speak to anybody when I got out, which is pretty common, but after I made the film, literally thousands of people I've known and I've been there with, and people who I never met before have reached out to me. So I've heard or talked on the phone or via email to quite a bit of them, and they're all, they each have their own stories. Some of them are doing really, really well, and other of them, a girl the other day committed suicide.
Yeah, damn. That's tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to transition to Aaron Bacon. Wow, that's powerful stuff. Like I said, I watched Aaron Bacon today. And how do the actors prepare for that role? Like, how do you get them to get into that mind frame? Especially like with the other counselors that are very abusive to them.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I try to ascertain when I'm working with an actor is what is their technique, because each actor has their own way of going about doing their performance, and to me, the common ground with all of them is just to simply, listen to the other person you're in the scene with. That's usually the thing that connects everyone together. But outside of that, I do everything I can to create a real ambiance, but in a safe manner, especially with these types of films. But the kid playing Aaron, Um, there's one scene where they're in the hospital and there's a hood over his face. And even between takes, and sometimes even in between scenes when we're going from one floor to the next, we, with his permission, we kept the hood on him, which was incredibly scary for him. But by the time the hood came off, it was incredibly effective in terms of what he wanted to convey and what he wanted to experience. And for him, it was so important because Aaron was a real person, and this awful thing did happen. He really wanted to. It was so important for him to honor Aaron's story and do it justice. In terms of yeah, the staff members, everyone just kind of has their own way of working.
Yeah. And how did in Aaron Bacon you had a lot of voiceover, like he was just writing? Was he writing out in the wild, or when he was on the nature hike?
Yeah, those were all the one thing the North Star had the kids do there is write these journals every night, and we found the real journals, and so what's in there are Aaron's words.
Wow. And so, how did you first find out about Aaron Bacon?
Yeah, it was that book, Help at Any Cost, I read by Maya Salvitz. There are 4 stories in there outlining the tough love teen help industry, and his was one of the stories, and it was one of these things where, I just came off of the heels of directing another tough love film. I had no intention to be the rehab filmmaker, and
right.
I wanted to do other stories. I have many stories, and I just read this one in particular, and I couldn't get it out of my head. So I said, let me just write it out. I pictured it visually, so I said, let me just write it out in screenplay form. I just want to get it out of my head. And then put it in the shelf. And that's exactly what I did. And then after I put it in the shelf, I realized I needed to take it out of the shelf. I needed to do it. And from that point on, it took me about 6 months to 6 hard months of obtaining the rights and the proper funding for the piece. And everything kind of, in the same month, literally everything fell into play at the same time, which was just magical.
Now, did you get funding for Aaron Bacon, or was that self-funded?
Yeah, so Over the GW at one point was discussed in a congressional hearing in their play to pass new legislation to protect these kids because all these facilities are privately ran, privately owned, so there's no oversight from the federal government. So they mentioned the film. They're talking about Over the GW, and they record what goes on there, and C-SPAN, and they were streaming it. And someone, believe it or not, in China, a businessman in China was watching and was like, "What is this movie Over the GW?" And bought the film online, watched it, loved it, contacted me through my website, flew here to New York, said, I want to, I love what you did. I want to do a film. I want to learn about the film industry. I have X amount of dollars to play around with. What do you think? And I said, well, you know what? I have this story, why don't you give it a read? Which was Aaron Bacon. And, it made sense for him. The budget he was working with made sense for us. And that's pretty much how it happened.
That's fantastic. And I mean, one of the toughest things about being an independent filmmaker these days is trying to find money while you're doing all this stuff. Now with Kickstarter, Indiegogo, it helps, but it's still, you're still struggling a lot.
Yeah, no, the funny thing is, no matter where I go in the world, whether it's a film festival or whatever, and if it's if I'm meeting a bigger producer or a smaller producer, whoever it is, always the question is, how did you get the funding? That's the question on everybody's mind, no matter what size you are.
It is. It's same with festivals anywhere. They always want to know, like, how do you make the money once you do something like this?
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's not out there yet, but all We love what we do. That's why we do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then sometimes, I was talking to a friend the other day, sometimes, yeah, because the thing is, when you're creating art, and then you put this, film as art, you then you put it out into the world because you want to share it with people.
Yeah.
What happens is when you put it out into the world, you're leaving yourself vulnerable because even the best reviewed stuff has detractors. So you put this thing out there, and and sometimes things do better than others. Sometimes things do really, really poorly, and sometimes things do really, really well. But like, no matter what, you just kind of got to say, "Hey, I made it. I put it out in the world, and I'm moving on to the next one." When The Wizard of Oz was made, everyone thought it was awful, and now it's one of our classics.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's so many factors that go into it. I like, Woody Allen is one of my favorite filmmakers, but I love the fact that he's like, I make my films, and then I move on to the next one. I don't do it for the awards. I don't go to the Oscars. I make the film because I love creating, and then I move on to the next thing. And I think that's just the best attitude to have when you get caught up in, oh, I'm doing this for this award or that review. Then it kind of it dampens the it dampens the work a bit.
Yeah, and it's weird too because I have this battle in my head. It's not an ego thing when I tell people like I really want you to watch this. It's like, you got to see, like, for instance, what this web series we did. It's like I want people to know, well, first of all, about ALS, how underfunded it is, everything else, but also I want you to meet Tim, and how hard he fought with this disease. And I did it and I created it, whatever, but that's not the reason why I want people to see it. It's because I want to share these moments that to me are just like incredibly special. I guess it could be some ego, but that's not what drives me. It's like I really want people to watch a story and talk about it and share it with other people and create a buzz with themselves and just leave me out of it. I did it. Here you go. Let it go off on its own.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really it really is not just the best attitude to have, but I think it's also the healthiest, because you can really, detractors to really put an end to something brilliant that could come by saying, "Oh, it's too much for me. I'm no longer going to create."
So after you did Aaron Bacon, now you just finished your latest film, and you shot this in four different countries. Or talk about this new film.
Yeah, no, it's funny. So Over the GW was one of these night and weekend things over the course of 6 months, and and we primarily shot in one location in like a basement somewhere. And so, like, after that, I was like, I really, I really want to get out.
No kidding.
Yeah. So the latest one, Aaron Bacon was a long short, but it was a short. And this one's so technically my second feature. It's called Altered States of Plane. And, there are definitely a lot of layers to the story, a lot of twists and turns. So I can't talk about the story too much, but what I can say on the surface is it's about a guy, when he falls asleep, he wakes up in different parts of the world. Literally, he could fall asleep in New York and wake up in Paris within minutes. And it's at random. He can't control it. So
Wow.
sometimes it does happen, and sometimes it doesn't happen. And sometimes when it does happen, he can find himself in some dangerous situations. And he's an orphan. He doesn't know anything about his past, and he's just on a hunt looking for answers. We shot in 4 countries, and then the idea is we want to premiere in an equally big way in terms of just different countries, just to let the film almost feel like the main character himself. So we had our premiere down in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was awesome. It was actually one of the best times I've ever had at a film festival. The festival is called Fantaspoa, and they really, other festivals, you go down there and it's it's about the festivals and it's about the films, and that's what it was about, 35%. But The other 65 was, they really, the festival, they flew filmmakers in from all over the world.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and there's sometimes 3, 4 different languages going on at once, and they would create things. The festival was at night, but during the day they would create activities for us to bond and really immerse ourselves in the Brazilian culture. So we were doing Brazilian barbecues in the countryside, horseback riding, nightlife. The whole thing, and to me, just the beauty of it was, and why film is so beautiful to me and so precious to me is, we're there for all these different cultures, and we have many differences, and we were celebrating our differences and celebrating our art and celebrating the fact that through film we want to communicate to each other. And I think I made some lifelong friends down there from all over the world. And some of them I've seen since then. Like there was a couple from Germany, and we did a rendezvous in New York. So it was just it was just the best.
Yeah, I totally understand it. Like at Vimeo, went up there and met all these other Vimeo winners, and they're from Germany, from England, from Luxembourg, just like all these Trinidad was another one, and everybody was just so cool, and instantly we connected, and we had like this. It felt like it was a long lost friend, just because we all shared the same interests and we all had respect for each other. And no one had this ego at all. It was so refreshing, and it was a great weekend. And I felt like one of those vodka commercials where you see. I'm sorry, I'm going into
yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, no,
no, but when you see all the boys,
that's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah, it was like all these boys hanging out on the rooftop, going like, this night's not going to happen again. And I was like, yes, that's it. I understand.
Totally.
It was amazing. So that's so cool. So when's it coming out to the U.S. and what's the distribution looking like?
Yeah, I can't reveal the U.S. thing yet.
Okay, I understand.
But it's going to be happening soon, and I'll definitely let you know personally when I'm able to see it. And same thing with the distribution, which is actually kind of directly related to that first festival down in Brazil. It was just an amazing experience. I think we're the probably the first sale the festival's ever had. They don't, before I went down there, I'm like, tell me what the situation is. And they were like, it's not really, this isn't a market. You're not going to, there aren't really any buyers here. And we transcended that,
nice.
which was pretty cool. But again, I can't talk about that publicly, and at the moment.
Yeah, I worked on another film. I won't say because it's the same thing, but we had a distributor that took it. It was a kung fu martial arts film. It was like a film noir. It was pretty damn cool, especially we shot it for so low.
It's in black and white?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw the trailer for it at one point, right?
Yeah, it was, well, I might as well say it's not going anywhere. It's called Dogs of Chinatown.
I can't remember the title, but was it, I may have seen it could I have seen it on Facebook maybe a couple years ago?
Yeah, we did. We started promoting it, and the director...
Good. The trailer looked awesome.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, especially for like a first film for what we came together for. Micah is a hell of a director, really a visionary. Like he really understands visual style, everything.
And the fight choreography looked excellent.
Well,
I was watching. I was like, I wish I made that.
Nice. Yeah, those the guys are from San Francisco. They're called the Stunt People, and they are just off the chart, crazy good. Like they do all their own stunts, fast action, choreograph everything, and they're great people. But it went into distribution, and the distributor was in all these different markets all over the place. You know about this, and they sold it in like 3 or 4 markets. We're like, wow, that's pretty good money. And then they give us a bill for how much, they charged us for going to all these different places along with everybody else. And it just killed all of our profit. Just killed it. So
Yeah, yeah, I get it. It's one thing I learned. You got to be careful with some of these people, like, because it could get, I don't know who the distributor was. I don't even want to know, but I just know some, and I'm not even saying this was one of those situations, but I do know over the years, and I'm sure you do too. You got to be, big companies and small companies. You got to be very careful, because sometimes it could get a little shady.
yeah,
Not saying that was the situation here, but that's it's not a myth. Even you got Peter Jackson taking New Line to court for Lord of the Rings. I guess they straightened it out. Now he's doing the Hobbits, but it could happen anywhere.
yeah, exactly.
Where's my money? Where's my money?
Exactly, and it's crazy too. I think the thing that we learned was you definitely ask for a client list and contact their clients and talk to them, and people
Absolutely.
and do research because it's you can find out where different places people went to, especially in your same kind of genre. Like if we should have done a little more research, but we learned from that, and hopefully future filmmakers or people that have stuff right now will do that too, because. And one other quick thing, I learned what I was out.
That it's a lot easier than you think, and really the film community is a lot smaller than you realize, and and people are willing, if you do reach out to them, people are willing to give you an answer or give you feedback if you are inquiring about a specific company that they previously worked with.
That's awesome to know and refreshing too. I was out in LA for a pitch fest. I don't know if you've ever heard of one of those.
I've definitely heard of them. I've never attended one.
And to me, I'm jaded. I think everything is like just someone's out trying to get you. And and it kind of turned out it was one of the TV executives. He flat out told us it was all reality shows, and they're trying to get ideas from people who went out there. And he flat out said, he goes, if you give us your idea, because you're here to pitch us your ideas. We already have our production company, so you're not going to shoot it. He's like, once you give us your idea, you're going to get fucked. And if your idea is good, you won't get fucked again. And I sat there, I raised my hand, I go, so you're openly admitting that you're going to screw us over. He's like, pretty much. I'm like, no, I'm not giving you shit. I was like, why? That sounds like, it's abuse. It's a cycle of abuse where he gets abused and then he's going to do it on the next person and so on and so forth. And I know not everybody is like that. I've talked to a few people in television that give us great ideas and helped us along the way. But, that was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate the honesty. But I'm not going to give you my idea,
Goodbye. Yeah, right.
Exactly. And the internet has helped a lot of people get in front of those people now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the internet is such a great tool. I know, we're still trying to figure out, us as in the film community, still trying to figure out exactly where it stands and the relevance. But I mean, it's just been such a strong tool I found to reach audiences. So I feel very inspired by it, actually.
And I also want to congratulate you. You are engaged. Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, luckiest man.
When's the date?
We don't have the exact date yet, but it's definitely going to be spring 2014.
Wow, it's like a movie.
Yeah,
coming out spring 2014.
The funny thing is the day. So I proposed to her December 27th. Then December 28th, everyone was like, "So when's the date?" I'm like, "Well, I didn't say. Will you marry me on March 14th?"
and then after that happens, everyone will go, "Where are the kids?"
Exactly. Yeah. It never ends. Yeah. And before that, everyone's like, "When are you getting engaged?"
Exactly. It's the fun thing about relationships and moving forward in life. Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, what's next for you, Nick?
Really, just I have a new screenplay that I'm in the process of writing, and so I'm hoping. Don't want to talk too much about that one, but I'm hoping that'll be my next project. And in the meantime, released a couple of music videos. Got one more coming out in about a month, which I'm really excited about, and just Altered States of Plane coming out. Doing its tour as well.
That's fantastic. And where can we find out more information about the film that's going to be coming out?
Yeah, you can find out everything on my official website, nickgaglia.com.
Thanks, Nick, for taking the time and doing this conversation. I enjoyed it. I really enjoy your work, and I'm super excited about your new film that's coming out, so looking forward to seeing it. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talent Freaks. Nick's dedication to using film as a medium for social change is truly inspiring. His work not only raises awareness, but also gives a voice to those who have endured similar struggles. To explore more of Nick's work, you could see his IMDb page and check out his films Over the GW and Aaron Bacon, premiering on YouTube. If you'd like to get to know my work, visit talentfreaks.com to see some of the videos that I've worked on, as well as the photography that I'm currently doing and so much in love with. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast. It truly helps others discover these incredible stories. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.